Before we start, if you haven't already and are able to, go over and support Chillin' Dude. The link will be in the description. Thank you. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Falco. With the inception of Slippy Netplay, Melee has become more accessible than ever before and issued in a new generation of players to carry on the game's legacy. And in this new age of Melee, there has spawned a meme, a virus that is rapidly spreading and poisoning the community. The Netplay Falco. You know these players. They shoot 2 lasers, then jump at you with the scrubbiest down air possible, only to get dash dance grabbed by any player with half a brain cell. They're able to do the most insane tech skill imaginable, putting even Westballs to shame, yet they seem to lack any semblance of a neutral game. And the weirdest part is that this doesn't seem to be a thing with any other character in the game, only Falco. What exactly causes so many players to gravitate towards playing him? And why are there so few top Falcos despite being one of the most popular characters in the game? I wanted to understand what's going on, so I did some digging into the Netplay Falco phenomenon, and what I found was a pretty obvious conclusion. In order to understand the Falco pandemic, we first need to address the elephant in the room. Why is Falco so popular to begin with? And there's a pretty easy answer to that.
Maybe looking for a wave dash back into that, and Mango with all the state presence save, no jump! Mango
somehow wins the Big House 9 from a Zane who looks untouchable on the winner's side!
Mango is quite easily the most iconic and notable figure in Melee's history. His aggressive, rush-down playstyle has been a staple to competitive Melee for over a decade now. To the average viewer, he encapsulates everything great about Melee as a fighting game. Melee is a very fast game, the fastest one in the entire series, and its speed is considered to be the trademark feature that entices people to try it out. As a result, there seems to be this idea that playing fast and technical is the only real way to play this game, and anyone who doesn't is automatically lame, has no skill, and is ruining the game. This is where Falco comes in. Falco is a very fast-paced and aggressive character and requires an immense amount of skill if you want to properly utilize his tools at the highest level. Once you learn to master his kit, he can be one of the most powerful and entertaining characters in the game, easily top 3. The problem is that most Melee players aren't at the higher levels. They are usually low to mid-level players, and at those skill levels, Falco's tools are busted. Falco has extremely powerful tools at his disposal, but this is amplified by the fact that the vast majority of the community doesn't know how to deal with these tools effectively. Low-level players especially don't know how to deal with lasers or how to escape his pillar combos, and as a result, Falco mains can get very far without any real skill. This is why Falco is extremely popular in the first place. He's extremely accessible compared to the other characters, but his accessibility runs out the better you get. Eventually, these Falcos will play against better players who implement proper counter strategies, allowing them to expand the weapons they have in their arsenal to counter Falco. Once these Falco players hit this wall, they have 2 paths. Path A is to adapt and relearn the game to become a great Falco player. However, this almost never happens because playing Falco at a high level takes an immense amount of skill.
It is brain dead easy to play Falco like he's the 5th or 6th character in the game. In fact, it takes no skill to play Falco like he's the 5th or 6th best character in the game. To play Falco like he's a good character takes skill. And most people do not have skill. And that's what I mean by Falco carries people to top 50 because they don't have to actually learn the game. Almost no Falco players actually understand the game in any capacity. And conversely, 90% of the community has no idea what to do against Falco and especially lasers, and so almost no Falcos have incentive to learn the game. And then they run and they're like, yo, if I just hit my tech, I'll be the best in the world. And they don't recognize that when they're playing me or they're playing Zane or they're playing Mango, no, you're not losing because your tech skill sucks. You're losing because I actually know how to deal with your character. And I'm not just trying to cheese you over and over again. That's the only reason why you're losing. Not because you're not hitting your tech skill. Even if you hit your tech skill, you would get washed 99 out of 100 times. Sure, that 1 out of 100 times, maybe you get a win. But that's not the ratio you want to be operating at, especially as like a top 100 player. That's not the ratio you want to be operating at. You want to have a chance to win every set. But most Falcos don't get that.
So many of these Netplay Falcos never actually get better and instead plateau at this mediocre state and choose path B, to complain. Remember how earlier I talked about how the community has this belief that anything that isn't blip blip tech skill is cringe? People seem to see the space animals as these uber technical and hype characters that require an immense amount of skill with the burden to carry Melee to the promised land, and anyone who plays a floaty, or really any character that isn't flashy or sick or whatever, is actively killing the game. We've gone through this with Jigglypuff, Ice Climbers, Marth, and most recently, Peach. Lod wrote an entire document about why he thinks Melee players hate Peach, and specifically spoke about the protagonist syndrome that many Fox players have when playing against weaker characters. But honestly, the same thing can be said about both species as well. Because neutral game timings are entirely in his control, Fox players often attribute neutral game outcomes to their own competency. If Fox wins neutral, he outplayed the Peach. If he loses neutral, it's because he either messed up his tech skill, the opponent got lucky, or the opponent played so lame that Fox got bored and picked a dumb option. This is what I call protagonist syndrome. I understand that Fox is fast, flashy, cool, but it doesn't help that Foxes have convinced themselves that they're the saviors of Melee and the only reason this game still exists. Anyways, Fox players think that every neutral interaction is either them outplaying the opponent or messing up. They never consider the possibility that the Peach player outplayed them. This disparity of perceptions of neutral game is a big contributing factor to why people hate Peach players. Fox players think that neutral game is entirely in their control, and so losing neutral means they messed up, or the Peach player plays lame, or something like that. Meanwhile, Peach players think they're so much better than the opponent every time they land a hit because of how many layers of mix-ups they have to win to land that hit. Peach players complain about how hard it is to play these matchups, but Fox players discredit Peach players' wins because of protagonist syndrome, and so Fox players end up resenting the Peach players for complaining so much. This applies to other characters too, namely Falco, Falcon, and Puff. I feel like Sheik and Marth players rarely complain about Peach players complaining. That's a mouthful. Because they realize how ridiculous those matchups are. Okay, so imagine your standard salty 20XX Fox player complaining about Peach because they don't understand the matchup. Now imagine another salty player complaining about Peach who not only doesn't understand her, but also doesn't actually know how to play the game in general because their playstyle centers around their opponent lacking proper skill and counterplay. That would be even dumber, right? And yet it's somehow acceptable and reasonable to complain in this manner when the real problem is you. Like, yeah, you're allowed to dislike whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's in the game and we all have to deal with it. Complaining about the things you hate isn't going to get you anywhere. You may hate Peach down smash or up throw rest or stomp knee or F tilt fair or whatever, but those same players that you resent may hate Falco and think lasers are dumb. We're all allowed to have our own personal preferences, but yours aren't more valid just because you can mash buttons harder.
How you lose?
How do I lose?
Yeah.
So, Nintendo?
This mindset to complain about your problems instead of dealing with them starts to become even dumber when you realize that most of the players who act like this aren't even good at the game and play a character that carries them against 99% of the community. I know this protagonist syndrome complaining applies to both the Spacies, and Lod specifically singled out Fox players, but at least Fox requires skill. Obviously Falco, just like every other character in this game, requires an immense amount of skill to fully master and play at the highest level. But other than that, he really isn't that hard to pick up and play compared to everyone else. So this toxic mindset that Peach, Puff, Ices, or whoever is lame because they don't require any real skill is ultimately hypocritical, especially when you consider that many of the lame characters people reference aren't actually all that good and have to work much harder to win.
Wow. Oh, nice tech chase.
Nice tech chase again by Slug.
Oh!
Slug.
Oh!
What was
Yo!
that? He sets up a desync so he can cover both platforms.
Nice. Okay, Slug.
Yo.
Okay.
When you think about it, Falco players are like the spoiled kids who were always praised, while floaties are the kids who had to work and claw for everything they had, only for nobody to care in the end because again they weren't some aggressive, flashy, fast-paced space animal. Take Puff for example. She is very limited with her approaches because her moves have terrible frame data, bad hitboxes, and struggle to knock down at low percents. She's also extremely light, meaning that she's at risk of dying from a stray hit at like 90. Obviously she has a one-hit kill move and a great off-stage game, but against many characters, she can't always leverage these strengths effectively. This is part of the reason for why HBox has declined in recent years. No matter how you slice it, Puff and most floaties will always have a harder time across most matchups than Falco. Not to toot my own horn, but as somebody who's recently quit playing Ices to main Fox, I have a certain level of perspective and self-awareness, which is why I can keep a healthy mindset as I learn the game. When I'm struggling with a certain matchup, I know that the problem is with me because I know what it actually feels like to play into a bad matchup. This is something I believe other Spacey players lack since they've never had to truly experience a losing matchup and only complain because of protagonist syndrome. To be honest, I don't know if Peach hate will ever end. Some people hate her so much that their only place in the community is to spread hate about her. There are even Puff players that do this. I've literally taken stocks from people without using down smash, and they respawn and just start down smashing in place to prove how dumb my character is, or whatever. It's actually blind rage. Either way, I think every character is difficult in their own way if you consider all aspects of their game plan. Otherwise, everyone would be playing the same easy character. Whatever character you choose, don't let other people shame you for it, because chances are they just don't understand your character or don't respect you enough as a competitor. To any spacey players that suffer from protagonist syndrome, I need to get this through your skulls. The game doesn't revolve around you just because you play one of the game's flagship characters. If you're losing to Peach or Puff, it's usually because either your opponent is outplaying you in certain mix-ups and is simply better, or there's a flaw in your own game plan and playstyle that they're exploiting. Either way, the reason you are losing isn't because floaties are lame, it's because you are bad at the game. But instead of trying to fix the way you play, you throw your blind rage onto floaties who already have to work twice as hard as you do just to get an opening in neutral. I'm bringing this up now because recently there's been a massive rise for Sheik in the current meta. Sheik has historically been considered an easy and lame character since once again she isn't some space animal that spams tech skill. We've seen the emergence of J-Mook as a legitimate top tier player, as well as players like Fizzwiggle and Crudo scoring upsets against titans like Mango and IBDW. I can't help but think that we're going to be seeing an anti-Sheik movement by the end of the year if things continue to trend as they are. If people can complain about Marth and how Fox-Marth is a 60-40 matchup despite all of Fox's tools and strengths, then I wouldn't be too surprised if Sheik was next on the chopping block given her recent dominance. So yeah, just a quick rant for the day. I want to start streaming Melee, especially some 1.03 with viewers, so be sure to stop by if you're interested. As far as future videos go, I kinda want to make video essays about the Melee metagame because covering drama all the time can get annoying. I also promised an Ace Attorney documentary a few months ago, so that'll be in the works as well. Also, last thing before I go, remember to go over and support Chillin' Dude if you can. I did a fundraiser stream like 2 weeks ago, but you can still donate today if you're able to. Anyways, thanks for watching, hope you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.